So in this particular question, we're trying to find your x-intercept. We have other terms for x-intercepts, right? Let's try to review those terms. We have the zeros, roots, and then solutions, okay? So all of this mean the same thing. But I would rather use x-intercept because we know that for x-intercept, the value of your y is always equal to 0. Okay, and that's a concept that we could use. Now this f of x is just equal to your y, your f of x is just y, your g's of x, for example, is just y, your z of x, assuming this is z of x, it is just equal to your y. Okay, so just let your y equal to 0. So in this case, let this equal to 0, equal to 0, equal to 0, equal to 0. We are just finding the x that will make the right side equal to 0. So for example, for the first one, that's 0 already. We just need to find the x value so that the right side will be equal to 0. It means that we just have to undo your minus 4, so add 4 both sides. This will cancel out. 0 plus 4 will be 4. And then how do we undo our 4 terms? Multiply by 3/4. So multiply this by 3/4. Same thing here, 3/4. So this will cancel out. This is just equal to 1. So we have 1x. And then 3/4 times 4 will just be equal to 3. So in this case, this will give us an x-intercept of 3. Okay, so that's my x, 3. My y is 0. So we have 3, 0. And then to check our answer, okay, so again, go to your graph. If you have an expression here, just type it over. For example, this one, 4/3, so 4 ABC 3x, then minus 4. So when you graph this one, you'll get a line because I have x raised to 1. Just solve for the solution or the x-intercepts, or x-intercept. Do you remember how to find the x-intercept? We use which one? The g-solve. Okay, so shift first, then g-solve, and you will see a root. Okay, so when you press F1, it will give you your root. In this case, it's 3, 0. So you know that this one will give you an x-intercept of 3. Now if your graph is not, you can't read the graph, so here's how you fix your graph. So go to view window, shift, then F3 to use view window, and then just use STD or standardize or standard. So F3, it will fix your minimum, x minimum, y minimum, and that will fix your screen. Okay, then EXE, and then you draw it again. Okay, so let's apply the rest. Let's solve the rest of the questions using our calculator. So assuming we're done using paper and pencil, so let's try to you know what, one more, let's solve this one using the paper and pencil. So 0 equals x squared minus 9. So how do we find the solution for this? We have two ways, correct? Either we use the factoring or quadratic formula. I think factoring is a little bit faster. Okay, how do we factor x squared minus 9? It should be a difference of 2 squares. So you have to remember your difference of 2 squares. So this is a perfect square. I have 2 terms, I have a minus sign. So just a perfect square. Okay, so how do we solve for this? If I have a product equal to 0. Go ahead. Oh, not yet. Before you do that, there's one more step. But you're right. Before you subtract, you let this equal to 0, and then this one equal to 0. And that's when you're going to subtract 3 both sides to get x equals -3. Here, you add 3 both sides and get x equals 3. So look at this. I have a solution of x equals 3. So this will be one of the answers also. So another suggestion is that, so if you know that your x-intercept is 3, plug in this to your x's, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Plug into your x's, so you plug your 3 to your x. And then if the result is 0, then it means that it's a solution. Okay, that's one way of doing it too. Okay? All right, so, but I have to show you the actual procedure and how to do it, but that's one way of doing it. Now, to check our answer, okay, exit, then just type this one over. X is over here, x squared minus 9. So exe, draw, looking for the solution. So we have to use we have to use gsolve, shift gsolve, use root. You have a negative 3, which is over here, negative 3, and then the other one. So right arrow, it will give you the other root, x equals 3. Okay, so this is also a solution. I mean, this is also a function that will give you a solution of 3. So let's do it for this one. Go back, exit, type it over, x plus 3, exe, draw. So gsolve again, shift, gsolve, root, it gave me x negative 3. I'm looking for a solution of 3, so this one is not the correct function. Let's try this one, the other one. So exit, go back, go up. So x squared plus 5x minus 24, exe, draw, and you have two solutions. So shift, gsolve, root, you have negative 8. Let's check the other one. Alright, I have negative 8 and 3. So this one will give you a solution of negative 8 and 3. So I have the 3 here, so this will also be your answer. Okay? Alright, so that's number 1. Or using paper and pencil, you can use factoring on this one. Okay? Let's just, try to factor this so that we can review how to factor. So what are the factors of negative 24 that will give you a 5? Negative 3 and? Alright, there you go. Negative 3 and then 8. So once you have this, we'll get factors will be x minus 3 equals 0. Then x plus 8 equals 0. So this one will give you x equals 3. Because you have to add 3 both sides. Alright, so that's how you solve using paper and pencil. Alright, so next. This one, we can't use your calculator. You really have to solve it. So the problem here was the sign. When I check your answers, you mess up with the sign. So start by finding your x-intercepts. What is this? Negative 1/2, okay? What about this one over here? Okay, this one is kind of easy to solve. Subtract 2 both sides, will get x minus 2. One of the factors. Do I have x minus 2 here? None. So let me check the other one. So how do I make the right side equal to 0? Times 2, okay, you can do times 2 here. Cancels out. 2x equals what? Then from here, that's my next step. Add 1 both sides. We'll get 2x plus 1 equals 0. So I have 2x plus 1, so letter B. So this one, there's no way that we can use our calculator, okay, to check our answer. Okay, moving on. Number 3, same thing with this one. We need to find the polynomial. A factor. So similar to the previous question, we have to identify your x-intercept, which is what? But you should have 2 of these. Okay? Then how do I solve for this? Add 2. So we get x plus 2 here. Okay? So D will be the answer. I need the other one because just in case we are looking for the equation, then we have to multiply this using your box method. Okay? Alright, that's your number 3. Alright, number 5, how do we get the quotient? So let's say you forget how to divide, then if you go to our class page, there's a video on how to divide. So it's just a matter of going back and reviewing what you think you need to review. So let's try to factor the top one. Do we have a GCF? What about DOS? Alright, let's do trinomial. So we have 4x squared minus 8x plus 3. We have to use slide and divide. What's 4 times 3? Okay. We need factors of 12. 1, 12. What else? 2 and 6. 3, 4. That's it? Okay. This is positive. So the sign should be the same sign as your, the factors should have the same sign as your middle term. So both should be negative, both negative, both negative. Which one will give you a sum of negative 8? Alright, negative 2 and negative 6. So you will get x minus 2. These are just your factors, okay? X minus 6. Now some of you forgot to divide by 4. Because we are using slide and divide. So if you use slide and divide, you have to divide by 4. Can we simplify this? What is negative 2 over 4? Then move this one over here. That's 2x minus 1. Can I simplify my 6 over 4? That's what? X minus 3 over 2. And then you move this one besides your x minus 3. So this is your numerator. We're dividing this by your denominator. Okay. So cancel this one out. We'll get 2x minus 3. Okay. So the correct answer will be letter F. Alright, so same thing with this. We just need to factor out your b squared minus 16. Do we have a common factor between b and 16? Alright, so let's use DOS. Do I have two terms? Alright, two terms. Minus sign, correct. Is this a perfect square? Yeah, as long as your exponent is even, it's a perfect square. Okay, is this a perfect square, 16? Okay, so how can I write that as quantity squared? What's that? Oh, just 4. Okay, because the minus sign is always in the middle. Okay. All right, so we have a perfect. We have a DOS. So b minus 4, and then b plus 4. Okay. Then we're dividing this by what? b minus 4. So this will cancel out. What's left is b plus 4. Okay. All right. So there we go. That's your number 8. I don't know how many questions we need to go over. Number 3. Okay. There's no correct answer here, but I asked you to just solve the get the closest one. Let's start with your number. All right. 3, 15, 25. Do we have any common factor between 3, 15, and 25? None. That's bad. All right. Moving on. What about letter A? Okay, do I have A here? Yes. What about here? What about here? So what was the procedure? We have to bring out which one? The smallest, okay? The smallest exponent. The one that has a smaller exponents, which is A4, A3, or A2? Okay. So if I'll bring out my A squared, so I will have A squared here. Actually, we're just dividing this by A squared, okay? Bring out a squared from a cubed, we'll have a left. And then bring out your a squared from here, then there's no more a. Okay? Let's check your b. Do we have any? Is b common? Yeah, I have b here. I have b4, I have b squared. Which one is the smallest? Exponent. B. So when you bring out the b here, it's just 1. Okay? Bring out the b here, we'll get b3. Bring out the b here, we'll have b raised to 1. This should be the correct answer. Okay? So, but I know we don't have the correct answer here, but this is the closest. Wait. A, that's the closest. Okay? So just use that one. Okay? Alright, I think we're almost done. There we go. Alright, so let's use our calculator to check our answer. Alright, for the first one, where should we go again? So menu, we go to graph, and then just type in, okay? We'll get 4, ABC3, x minus 4, okay? And from here, you just have to graph this one, so EXE, then you draw, okay? Remember, I need my x-intercept, which is this value over here. So how do we get my x-intercept? You go to gsolve, which is a yellow, written in yellow, so I have to use shift, and then F5, Now root will come up. So you have to use root. It will give you your x-intercept, which is equal to 3. And that's what we got earlier, x equals 3. Alright, now check the other option. Just go back, exit, then go up, and then just type it over. X squared minus 9 exe. You draw again, and then you will have a graph. Now, just in case your graph is messed up, just like, let's see, if let's say your graph is not showing your screen is not showing the graph, then what you need to do is to fix your window by going to Shift F3, that's your V window, and make it standardized or standard STD. So F3, it will reset the values. Then EXE, then you draw again. Now you have a better view of the graph. So how do we get the solution again? We have to use gsolve. So Shift gsolve root. I have -3, which is the one that we got earlier. This one, -3. And then find the other one, right arrow. It will give you the other x-intercept, which is x equals 3. Okay? So you know that this function will give you an x-intercept of 3. Alright, so there you go. What about this one? Let's check. So exit, you go up, replace the function x plus 3, exe, draw, Shift gsolve, look for the root. It gave you -3, the same thing that we got here, -3. And finally, this option over here, exit out, type this one in, x squared plus 5x minus 24. Okay, so exe again, draw, gsolve, root. So I have a -8, same thing that we got here, -8. And then right arrow, you have x equals 3, same thing that we got here. Okay, so x equals 3. So there we go. This option gave us an x-intercept of 3. Alright. So when you're dividing by a monomial, okay, we just need to divide each of this by your divisor, and then from here just divide your regular number. 30 divided by 10 is, what about x6 divided by x2? Subtract which one? Exponent, right? Okay, and then here 20 divided by 10, x4 divided by x squared. Okay, now here's where some of you will mess up. Okay, so when you divide 10x squared by 10x squared, some of you will say 0 is actually equal to 1. Okay, so the correct answer should be letter A. Okay, well, if you have, let's say, 3x4 plus 2x squared, I know it's kind of tempting to choose E, but you have to remember when you're dividing, it's not like you're going to cancel it. It's cancellation, but it's 1. Okay, not 0. All right, what about this? How do we get the equation with a solution set of -2 and 3? Okay. So if they gave you a solution set and we need to find the equation, start by looking for your x-intercepts. And from here, you look for the factors by adding 2 both sides. You get x plus 2 here. What about here? X, so subtract 3x minus 3. Now you have your factors. You multiply both factors using your box method. So what's x times x? X squared. X times -3. Then 2 times x. Then 2 times -3 will give us -6. So we have like terms here. What's 2x minus 3x? negative 1x. Very good. And then this one is just minus 6. So just look for this one. Do I have x squared minus x minus 6? Yeah, over here. Okay. Now just be careful. If you can't find this one, assuming you don't have this as an option, look for x plus 2, x minus 3 equals 0. This could also be an equation. If we don't have this, okay, try to look for this one. Okay, there's a possibility that they will not give this as an option. Then look for x plus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. So if you don't have this, okay, so maybe that's why some of you chose this. Is that the reason why? It's a multiple response for 13.
Yeah.
So this will also be part of the answer. Okay, so we should have 2, and maybe that's why some of you mess up because you only chose 1. All right, so it says here you must select all. Okay. All right, so that's how we solve number 13. Let's move on. Let's see. All right, so go ahead and try to factor this, and I'll wait for you for your factor step. All right, so let's solve this one using factoring. First, do I have any GCF? Okay, so when you bring out the 2, what do we have? 6x squared minus what? 7x minus 3. Okay, so this is already a factor. Okay, so you have to choose this right away. Some of you forget 2 as a factor. Now, for the remaining expression, it's not a DOS, so it should be a trinomial with a not equal to 1. So you have to slide this one to your negative 3, and you'll get negative 18. So what are the factors of negative 18? 118, what else? 29, 36. What about 4? No, 5. That's it, right? Now, this is negative. So 1 is positive, 1 is negative. So when you check the middle term, it's negative. It means what? The bigger factor should be negative. Which one will give you a sum of negative 7?
2 negative 9.
Okay. Now this will be your factors, okay? X plus 2, x minus 9. But we are not yet done. Why?
Divided by 6.
We divide by 6. Now what is 2 over 6? 1/3. So here, we move your 3 close to x plus 1. Okay. What about 9 over 6? That's just 3 over 2. Move close to your x minus 3. Okay. So there we go. So we have 3x plus 1 and 2x minus 3. Okay. If you're going to use quadratic formula, assuming you use quadratic formula, you will get x equals negative 1/3 and x equals 3 over 2. Okay, and then this 2 as a factor, you'll not be able to find that one. So I would rather use factoring to solve number 4. All right, next one. Let's check the other. All right, so go ahead and try to factor the numerator. It's a good practice using factoring trinomial. So when you are dividing a polynomial with a binomial, you need to factor this one first. Now start by checking if you have a GCF. Do I have a GCF for 4, 8, and 3? None. So it means that we need to factor this using our trinomial factoring. But we have a number besides x squared, so let's use slide and divide. What's 4 times 3? 12. What are the factors of 12? Okay. 3, 4. Now this is positive. So it means that my factor should be both positive or both negative. Now when you check the middle term, it's negative. So it means that both of these should be negative. So which combination will give you a sum of negative 8?
Negative 2 negative 6.
This one over here, correct? So you'll get x minus 2, x minus 6. Are we done?
No, divided by
Okay, don't forget to divide by 4. So what is negative 2 over 4? It's just from here, we can just move our 2 close to your x. You get 2x minus 1. What about 6 over 4? It's just 3 halves. So 2x minus 3. Right? Alright, so we just need to divide this. 2x minus 1 by 2x minus 3. Divide by what? 2x minus 1.
They cancel each other out. And the answer is
2x minus 3.
Alright, 2x minus 3. Let's move on. So here, we're trying to get the solution set. I will get 2x plus 1 times x minus 1. It's equal to 0. The only way that the product will be 0 is if one of this will be 0. Okay? So I just need to figure out what's the value of x that will make it 0. So subtract 1 both sides. We'll get 2x, negative 1, correct? Then divide by 2, we'll get negative 1 half. What about here? Add 1. X equals, so 1 and negative 1 half. But wait, there's more. Look, you can use this one to check your answer. Just in case, you forgot what to do. Look, exit, go up, type it in. 2x plus 1, x minus 1. My fault. Okay, so when you graph this, okay, now it's ugly, right? So let's fix our graph. So shift view window, make it standard, then draw it again. It's still the same. So let's try this one. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay, so that you can see it. Let's zoom in. You don't need to, because we can get the answer now. Look, shift G solve root, it gave me negative 0.5, which is the one that we have here, negative 1 half. What's the other one? It's 1. It's the same thing that we got earlier, 1. Okay, so it's this is very, very helpful. Okay, all right. 1. Alright, so let's say you forgot how to factor 16x squared minus 25 and you have multiple choice. Okay, this will work only if you have multiple choice. Okay, so what you need to do is to go to your graph and type in the question. Let's say 16x squared minus 25. Okay, and then for the other graph, okay, exe, let's say type in the one of the options that you're thinking that's the correct answer. So I'll type in my 4x minus 5 squared. You're checking if A will be wrong. So you're checking if A is the answer. So how do you know if A is the answer?
if the graphs are on the top of each other.
Correct. When you grab it and they match, it's the correct answer.
But they don't match.
They don't match, so you know that A is wrong. Okay. Actually, you can also change the color of this if you want. So style, and you can change the style for this to be like dotted, so that you can compare them. Okay. So when you grab it, so that's the option. This is the problem. They don't match. Okay. So you can go back again and choose your next option. Let's say 16x squared plus 25. And then try it again. Okay, so you're only seeing, so this one doesn't match the given question. So the correct answer here was, what's the correct answer? D, right? So when you type in your D, let's 4x plus 5, then 4x minus 5. Now when you graph this, so let me change this one, style, and make it like, there you go. So look, they match. So you know that's the correct answer. Okay.